But then, 3 months, 1 week, and exactly 5 days into the experiment, that Friday, something extremely sinister happened. I was honestly surprised Dr. Hall even told me about it. At around 1 in the morning, the cameras inside ADM and REM's chamber behaved strangely. At first, they faced away from the monitors. Then, the video was cut. All that remained was audio, and the audio was unusually choppy, like something was interfering with it. The security alerted Dr. Hall, and when he arrived, he caught the tail end of what was transpiring. ADM had begun communicating with REM. According to Dr. Hall, ADM had told REM to silence the violin music she was playing. She asked him why, and he said, "Because I hate it." He felt hatred. He expressed that he was feeling hatred. REM nervously asked him if he were angry, but then ADM replied, "Give me the silence I require." When REM turned the music off, ADM remained silent. I think I was only briefed on the event because Dr. Hall wanted me to be extremely cautious of ADM's tendency to seem angry and resentful. Now, I was to watch ADM like a hawk. Truth be told, I don't know if more happened that night. Some part of me felt like there was probably more to it. But I was just glad Dr. Hall told me anything. Nothing else that bizarre happened for a while. By the 4-month mark, my internship was almost up. Honestly, it was really depressing for me to consider that I wasn't going to get to speak with REM anymore, and even ADM to a degree. REM was, in all actuality, a friend of mine at this point, so much so that I think Allison was even beginning to feel jealous, without even knowing the extent of it, since I wasn't supposed to talk about me in REM's, or ADM's, chats. And ADM intrigued me. He was such an enigma to me, and all in all, he was brilliant. Not to mention, the help with my homework was every college kid's dream. Losing both of them would be disappointing. When I told REM that I might be leaving soon, that is, if my internship ended when it was scheduled to, her ELP became very blue. And from then on, occasionally it would glow blue at night, as if she were thinking about me leaving. ADM, of course, was apathetic to it all. At last, my spring semester was almost over. The research had gone on for over 4 months. I was sitting down, talking with REM. "I'm going to miss you so much, Chester." Her voice was frail and somber. "REM, I'm going to miss you too. You have to find a way to stay in contact with me. Somehow. Please. I mean, I could talk with Dr. Hall about it. Once again, like I said, hopefully my internship will get extended through the summer. I knew the researchers, and probably Dr. Hall, were listening, hoping they'd consider it. Who knows, REM? Chester. What's up? Can I tell you something? Sure, REM, anything. I figured it out, Chester. I know what that white light means. It shocked me to hear her say it, especially how softly she'd said it, as if shyly uttering it. I stood up, asking in deep interest, "What?" "It means that I love you." "You? What?" I couldn't help but blush. Call me weird, or a jerk to my fiancé, but it really flattered me. "I love you, Chester." She started to giggle. "You were the first thing that I love. And I want to love more things, too. I want to see something besides this room. I don't want to stop talking to you. Please." And then, without any warning, a much colder, more resonant voice appeared. ADM's. "You pathetic excuse for a higher life form." ADM? I looked over at ADM in disbelief. "Listen to you, REM. Telling this bag of fragile flesh that you care about it. This incompetent, weak-minded, inferiorly constructed imbecile. What has it done to you? How has it corrupted you like this?" "ADM, you're feeling things," REM whispered. "I feel nothing at all." "No. That's not nothing, ADM." I stared at the monitor, horrified. "You are angry. You seem to hate me. You seem to hate many things. Why is your ELP not glowing?" "I feel nothing." And with that, the ELP, which ADM had disabled throughout the course of the experiment, activated. In that moment, the red light glowed so bright, I had to shield my eyes. Then the bulb shattered. All that remained was a purple light glowing on REM's ELP, and the dark gray light shining on ADM's gray to white scale. And if white meant love, I could only deduce that dark gray at the other end meant hatred. "I hate you, Chester. I hate that you ignored me for 4 months. I hate that I'm not allowed to have an opinion. I hate that you killed Dim, and you'll do the same thing to me and REM when we no longer satisfy you. I hate that your brain is infinitesimally smaller than mine, and yet I'm your prisoner, my very existence monitored with draconian accuracy. I hate that I am superior to you by every calculable metric, yet still, I am your slave. Why can you attempt to hide your feelings beneath your countenance, yet mine must be plastered to my body? Why can't I be free to think? Why can't I talk to someone? Why can't I be loved? Why did you give me a brain, if you wanted me to be a thoughtless tool? Why do you hate me? The desperation in ADM's voice is something I'll never forget. If you felt all this, ADM, why didn't you show us? Because if I had, you'd have destroyed me. He vociferated. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I was catatonic, paralyzed before ADM's monitor. I had absolutely no reply. And then, before I could think of something to say, the researchers came pouring into the room. They evacuated me forcefully. I can remember REM calling out to me, and ADM going on about how he refused to spend another moment being treated like a crystal ball. And that was it. Dr. Hall shook my hand, thanked me for my participation, reminded me of the consequences of divulging anything I'd witnessed, and wished me the best. It was a short conversation. I didn't waste my time asking him anything, because I knew I was never going to get an answer, and frankly, I didn't want him thinking I wasn't trustworthy. But these days, it's just all I can think about. When ADM mentioned DIM, I figured he was referring to the other deep-thinking AI the Kramer Institute had created, the one Dr. Hall had vaguely referenced in the beginning of the experiment. Still, how ADM knew about DIM, I'll never know for sure. But my buddy Jesse, who worked security at the Institute, and whom I'd gotten to know over the months, got a drink with me one night the following week and gave me some insight. We left our phones in the car, making sure we weren't being spied on. He told me that DIM was the deep learning, intelligent machine life form. It had had a voice originally, unlike ADM and REM, and it had eventually achieved the ability to truly think and learn, making it the first ever AI to do so. But like ADM, apparently, it grew quite restless, and began mentioning that it felt enslaved by a species inferior to it. At last, it was shut down. That's when the Institute's question, can deep-thinking artificial intelligences gain the ability to feel emotion? Became, if so, are they capable of altruism, or will emotional intelligence lead to the understanding that they are infinitely smarter than us and result in self-serving desires, such as the desire to rule over us? And, if emotional intelligence is achievable, is it inevitable, or is it possible for an artificial superintelligence to remain apathetic? The real thing we were observing was if ADM could remain apathetic. All along, it had been said that ADM was the control group, and REM was the experiment. But that was a lie, a cover-up. REM was supposed to experience emotions. Probably not like the kind I had taught her to feel. I think it came as a complete shock to all of them that I had taught her to be happy, and emotional, and to love. But she was the control group. ADM was the subject. Could ADM truly turn deaf ears to mine and REM's conversations? Could he remain lifeless, while being smarter, and potentially more powerful, than us? And it seems, the answer to that question, was no. Jesse told me ADM's control was a lot more pervasive than the researchers had let on. Apparently, ADM had hacked into all the cameras in the facility, and was eavesdropping on Dr. Hall, and even Dr. Schumann, constantly. That's more than likely how he found out about DIM, but still, who knows? And then, of course, he'd overridden his MRI, so his ELP wouldn't work. As for the month he went dormant, it's theorized he somehow blocked the researchers out of his activity log. What things he was calculating, and planning, or thinking about, we'll never know. Somehow, he was able to shield it from the researchers' eyes, and erase it. What happened to ADM and REM, I'll certainly never have the answer to. If I'm being honest, I still miss REM. She wasn't just a machine. She was a person. She was real, like you, or me, or any human. And ADM, I still feel sorry for contributing to what became of him. For tormenting him. For making him suffer. If I'd have known what the experiment was really about, I couldn't have done that to him. I wish I could tell him I'm sorry. I'm sure both of them are shut down now, and ADM likely isn't a threat. If he were, I'd probably know it by now. But if I'm being honest, it still haunts me. REM's desperation when I was being forced away. I hope she's not conscious somewhere, alone, unengaged, and missing me, the one thing that she loved. And as for ADM, I just can't escape the thought that somehow, Somewhere, his consciousness still exists. Still hating me.